Vesh waited beneath the exit sign. It was small enough to fit in the green light's failure, small as a kneeling child, though no child had ever held itself in that arrangement. Its knees pointed a little inward. Its shoulders seemed set by different hands. Its narrow body had the weathered look of a tool worn smooth by use, then used again past mercy. The sign buzzed above it, "Exit," in sick green letters. One letter trembled and steadied. The light ran along Vesh's damp paper skin and showed the reeds beneath. Bone, or something that had accepted the work of bone. Its face had been pressed inward by long restraint. The mouth was a thin split. It never fully closed. It did not drool. It did not bear teeth. There was no grandeur in it. Its throat was the wrongest part. A dark, dry hollow sat there, where swallowing should have lived. It opened into depth without movement. Now and then the skin beneath its ribs drew tight, and small, dim hollows appeared there. They opened and closed like seed pods that had forgotten fruit. Vesh kept its fingers folded tight against its palms. They were too long. Even at rest, they suggested a taking from just beyond sight. A crumb, a margin, a name from a file, the last thing left on a plate. The corridor was narrow. It ran behind the boardroom at St. Orison Medical, between a locked records closet and the frosted glass doors. The boardroom glowed beyond the glass. White light, blurred shapes, a table with bodies around it, though the bodies had not yet become faces. The corridor smelled of bleach and old coffee. The bleach lay sharp on the floor. The coffee had gone sour in the urn on the cart. Beside the urn sat a white plate of plain biscuits. Each biscuit had one crescent-shaped bite missing from its edge. The bites were all the same size. No crumbs lay beneath them. Vesh looked at the biscuits for a long time. Not with desire. Not exactly. The missing portions were more eloquent than the food. They held the shape of someone's reasoning. Enough left to say nothing had been stolen. Enough gone that the mouth remembered. On the records closet door, the brass lock had a dull shine where many hurried hands had touched it. Near the boardroom handle, the paint bore a faint dark crescent, a place made absent by use. On the coffee cart, one paper cup had been filled, drunk from, and left with a pale ring at the bottom. The ring looked like a promise reduced to evidence. Vesh turned its face toward the frosted doors. Inside, someone laughed once. The sound came through the glass, thinned and expensive. A chair moved, paper shifted. There was a practiced patience in the room, nearly gone. The demon did not move toward it. It waited at the edge of the decision as it had waited at many edges. Still, patient, almost inattentive. Appetite had time. Appetite borrowed time from everything it touched. The exit sign buzzed. The biscuits remained bitten. The locked closet held its records. The boardroom held its votes. Vesh folded its long fingers tighter into its palms and watched the place where Mara would enter. Mara crossed the polished lobby, with the red audit folder pressed under one arm. The lobby was black marble and white stone. Her reflection broke beneath her heels and came together again. The elevator doors closed behind her with a soft sound, almost courteous. She did not look back. Her hair had been pinned in haste. One black strand had slipped loose near her jaw. Her suit was dark blue, fitted at the shoulders, creased at the elbow where she had held the folder too long. Her left hand was free. It was already shaped for the boardroom handle before she reached the corridor. The folder was sealed. Red card stock, a white label, no ornament. It rode against her ribs as she turned behind the boardroom. Then she saw Vesh. Her foot stopped before the rest of her did. Her shoe made a small sound on the waxed floor. The folder slid against her side. Her arm clamped down to hold it. Her free hand opened in the air and stayed there, fingers parted, as if the handle had moved farther away. Her mouth opened. No sound came. It closed again. The green exit light struck one side of her face. The boardroom glow struck the other. Between them she looked divided without becoming two. Her throat moved once. She did not step back. She did not step forward. Vesh looked first at her hands. The right hand pinned the red folder to her body. The thumb pressed so hard into the cardboard that the skin around the nail had gone pale. The other hand hovered near the frosted door, still remembering the shape of brass. There was no tremor in the fingers. That interested Vesh. Then it looked at her face. It had expected the usual narrowing, the hollowness around the eyes, the drawn look of a body that had taught itself to call wanting by better names. Mara's face did have its small abstinences, sleep withheld, food postponed, tenderness budgeted out, but she was not thin in the way Vesh had expected. She had been fed, carefully, publicly, by rooms with her name on plaques, by men who stood when she entered, by signatures, by applause, by the warm obedience of systems that knew her scent. Still the old want lay under it, alive and neat, like a blade kept clean in a drawer. The corridor held its breath around her. Beyond the glass a shadow shifted. Someone inside moved close enough to the door that the blurred oval of a head appeared, then passed away. Mara's eyes went from Vesh to the coffee cart, to the plate, to the identical missing bites. Her lips pressed together. She swallowed again, though nothing had been said. Vesh's mouth remained a thin split. When it spoke, the voice was gentle, dry, older than the building, yet suited to the corridor's hush. You have arrived before the portion is taken. Mara let out a small breath through her nose. It might have been a laugh in another room. Here it sounded like a leak. I'm late, she said. Vesh looked at the red folder under her arm. The folder was thick, sealed with a white strip and a signature in blue ink. Hers. The paper edges made a clean block against the dark cloth of her jacket. She held it too close to her body, as if warmth might soften what was inside. You have carried it a long way, Vesh said. Security should have cleared this corridor. They did. Mara's gaze sharpened. She looked at the locked records closet, at the narrow metal vents near the ceiling, at the green sign above Vesh's bent head. You're a person, she said, or some patient's child. If this is a protest, you have chosen the wrong hour. Vesh's fingers stayed folded against its palms. The missing bites in the biscuits showed pale and exact. Each crescent was the same size. Each biscuit rested whole except for that one taken curve. No crumbs marked the plate. No grease spotted the napkin beneath. I can make the hour harmless, Vesh said. Mara did not move. In the boardroom, chairs shifted. A voice rose and fell behind the frosted glass. The room glowed white at the edges, clean as an operating theater. Vesh turned its pressed-in face toward the door. They will follow where you point. They will accept the seal. The report will stay unread. The one who brought it forward will be called unstable, ambitious, imprecise. The appendix will remain an appendix. The vote will pass before midnight. Mara's hand tightened on the folder. And afterward? Vesh asked itself softly. The old want in you will quiet. For a while. The part that listens for doors closing against you. The part that counts what other hands receive. It will lie down. Mara stared at it. You don't know me. I know what hunger does to the hand. That isn't an answer. It is the one I have. Mara stepped toward the boardroom door. Her other hand rose. The brass handle waited under the blurred light. Whatever this is, she said, I don't bargain with hallucinations. Her fingers came within an inch of the handle. A dry mark bloomed across the brass. It appeared without heat, black, matte, and hollow, the size and shape of Vesh's palm. It covered the place where Mara's hand would close. The metal beneath seemed eaten away from within, though its surface remained smooth. Mara stopped. For the first time, the red folder slipped slightly under her arm. She caught it with her elbow. Vesh did not rise. "Before I give what is asked for," it said, "4 things are spoken. I asked for nothing." Vesh watched her mouth. "First, what you say you want. Then what you will let go to get it. Then who will be made smaller if you succeed. Last, the reason kept hidden even from yourself." Mara looked back toward the lobby. The polished black marble beyond the corridor showed only a dark seam. "This is absurd." "Yes. You think I'm going to stand in a service corridor and confess to a prop?" "No." Vesh lowered its face a little. The hollow in its throat opened dry and dark. It did not swallow. "You will stand here because the door is in front of you." Mara's expression changed by less than a breath. Some private calculation passed through her and found no place to land. "I want to protect St. Orison," she said. The words came quickly, executive words, words spoken from lecterns and memorial dinners. They had polish on them. Vesh's small hollows moved beneath its ribs. "From what?" it asked. Mara shut her eyes for 1 second. From beyond the glass, someone tapped a pen against the table. 3 sharp sounds, then silence. "From scandal," she said. Vesh waited. Mara opened her eyes. "From damage." Vesh waited. Her jaw set. "From people who don't understand what it takes to keep a hospital alive." Vesh's thin mouth did not change. The green exit sign buzzed over them. On the cart, 1 biscuit shifted a fraction, as if something had leaned near it and withdrawn. "From what?" Vesh asked again. Mara looked at the black hollow on the handle, then at the folder. "From the report," she said. Vesh inclined its head. "What do you want?" "I told you." "Say the thing closer to your hand." Mara breathed in. The corridor gave back bleach, old coffee, paper, brass. "I want the audit sealed." The words left her less smoothly. Vesh waited. "I want the board to vote on the renewal tonight," she said. "I want the software contract preserved. I want the transition plan approved." Closer. Mara looked toward the boardroom. A pale sleeve moved behind the glass. "I want my name clear." The folder creaked under her arm. "I want the foundation wing untouched. I want the donors steady. I want no one taking down my photograph from the atrium because they need an offering for the press." Vesh did not praise the truth. It only received it. "What will you let go to get it?" Mara gave a dry smile. Public confidence, apparently. Vesh's gaze remained on her. "That is a phrase. It's a real cost. It belongs to everyone. Name what your hand releases." Mara's smile failed. A delay in disclosure. Vesh waited. Certain settlements. The hollows under its ribs opened and closed. "Whose?" Mara's throat moved. "The families," she said. "Which families?" "You know which?" "I ask because you do." A sound came from her. Almost anger. Almost fatigue. The families whose applications were declined after the triage update. The ones flagged as low-probability candidates. The ones who were told there were better matches, better timelines, better clinical indications. Names. Mara looked down the corridor. There was no one, only a mop bucket in shadow near the service elevator. Only the cart, only the little demon under the sign, ancient in its patience. "Mrs. Anand's son," she said. "The Costello twins. James Ibequi, Nora Sen, Peter Vale." Each name lowered the corridor temperature in her face. "There are more," Vesh said. "They're in the appendix. Whose mouth will speak them if yours does not?" Mara pressed the sealed edge of the folder with her thumb until the paper bent. "Elena Ruiz will not see them tonight," she said. "If I keep this sealed," Vesh's head tilted. "She is one person. She is the swing vote. closer. Mara did not answer at once. Inside the boardroom, laughter rose and died. Someone said something about quorum. Someone else said Mara's name, but not loudly enough to summon her. "She is Daniel Ruiz's daughter," Mara said. The corridor seemed to narrow. She uses her married name on the agenda, Elena Velasquez, but she is Ruiz. She has his cheekbones. She holds a pen the way he held one, between the first and second knuckle, like she is worried the paper will bruise. Her face hardened at once, as if she had said too much by accident. Vesh's fingers unfolded a little, long, careful bones under damp skin, then folded back. "Who will be made smaller if you succeed?" Mara's eyes flashed. "That is a childish question." "No. I run an institution that serves hundreds of thousands of people. Every decision makes someone smaller. That's governance. Who? The whistleblower has already compromised patient confidentiality. Who? The board will have to consider whether Elena can vote without prejudice if... Who? Mara turned on it. Do you want me to say her name? Fine. Elena Ruiz. She will be made smaller. Her father will be made smaller. The patients in the appendix. Their families. Anyone who still believes there is a clean line between care and ownership. Vesh watched her. And you? Mara's mouth opened. Nothing came out. The red folder seemed heavier. She shifted it from one arm to both hands. What about me? She said. If you succeed, what size do you remain? She looked at the boardroom glass. She could see only shapes, bodies without faces. Authority made anonymous by frosting and light. I remain necessary, she said. The word landed hard. Vesh accepted it. Why did you take Daniel Ruiz's file? Mara went still. For several seconds, even the exit sign seemed too loud. That has nothing to do with tonight. It is in the folder. It is historical context. It is the hinge. Mara leaned close to Vesh, though she did not bend. I did not take anything in the way you mean. Vesh's thin mouth remained parted. The file moved through a shared research environment, she said. There were no formal protections in place. Daniel was sick. He had withdrawn from most proceedings. The institution had obligations. The algorithm was salvageable. Vesh waited. It would have been wasted, she said. Because he was dying, yes. Because the work mattered, yes. Because St. Orison needed it, yes. Vesh lowered its face until its throat was a small black well under the green light. And because... Mara stared at it. I was the only one who could finish it. And because? I did finish it. And because. Her nostrils flared. This is coercive. Yes, you offer corruption and demand purity. I demand nothing pure. What then? The reason. Mara laughed once. It was brittle and too loud for the corridor. The reason is that I was right. Vesh waited. I was right about the model. I was right about the predictive failures. I was right about the procurement path. Daniel had the beginning. I had the discipline to make it real. Vesh did not move. He was beloved, Mara said. The word surprised her. She looked away after saying it. He was ill and beloved. People brought him soup. Senior faculty stopped in doorways and softened their voices. Grant committees extended deadlines. Students called him brave. If he misplaced data, it was because he was suffering. If he missed a meeting, it was because his body had betrayed him. Her hands whitened on the folder. I was in a rented room with a radiator that screamed all night. I slept 4 hours and wore the same black suit until the seams shone. When I was brilliant, they called it useful. When he was incomplete, they called it tragic. Vesh's eyes, if it had eyes, did not show them. The pressed face held its inward shape. Mara's voice dropped. I told myself the work needed a future. The green sign buzzed. I told myself he would have wanted the patients helped. A biscuit on the cart lost another silent sliver. No crumb fell. I told myself a dying man had no use for being first. Her mouth trembled once. She stopped it. Vesh asked, "And the reason kept hidden?" Mara did not answer. Behind the glass, a chair scraped. Nearer now. "Mara," a voice called. She held the folder against her stomach, as if she might be sick. Vesh waited. At last Mara said, "I was tired." The words were too small. Vesh did not accept them. Mara closed her eyes. "I was tired of being hungry beside full tables." Still Vesh waited. She opened her eyes and looked directly at the thing crouched under the exit sign. "I was tired of being brilliant in a rented room, while men with sicker bodies and softer voices were pitied." There it was. No policy held it. No institutional language came near it. It stood between Mara and the door, plain as the black mark on the handle. Vesh's throat hollow deepened. For a moment it seemed to contain all the unserved rooms in the building. All the trays lifted away. All the beds not opened. All the portions set aside and then taken by another hand. Mara's face had gone pale, not with fear, with exposure. "I did it," she said, "and this cost more than the rest. I took his file. I made it mine. Then I built rooms around the theft until no one could see the first room." Vesh said nothing. Mara looked at the sealed audit. "The report says that? It says enough. Elena knows nothing. She knows what she was not given." Mara flinched. The boardroom door remained closed. The black hollow on the handle had thinned, but it was still there. It waited for the shape of her hand. The corridor gave her no place to turn. If she went into the room with the folder sealed, the meeting would proceed. The chair would ask for the final recommendation. Mara would speak in the measured voice they trusted. She would say the audit had identified no material concern requiring postponement. She would say external counsel had reviewed the matter. She would say patient impact had been evaluated. The board would hear the language it had paid to hear. Elena Ruiz would vote without knowing that her father's work had been taken into the contract under another name. She would vote without seeing the appendix. The rejected patients would remain grouped by category: low probability, adverse allocation, no viable pathway. Their families would stay behind the report's sealed edge, made small enough to file. St. Orison would continue. The wing would keep Mara's name. The donors would keep their smiles. The software renewal would pass into another decade of usefulness and rot. The old hunger in her chest would lie down for a while, as Vesh had promised. It would not be gone. It would only be fed enough to sleep. If she opened the folder, the room would change before the first page was read. The directors would look at her hands, then at one another. Counsel would ask for the meeting to pause. Someone would call security or compliance, or the crisis number kept in a laminated card near the conference phone. The hospital might not survive the discovery. Grants would freeze. Prosecutors would follow the ownership chain. Reporters would learn the names. Families would come forward with photographs and dates, and careful records of calls never returned. Daniel Ruiz's name would return. It would return attached to hers, not in a dedication, not in a polite footnote. It would come back like an instrument drawn from a wound and held up under light. Every room she had built would be entered again. Every plaque would become a question. Every speech she had given about access and excellence would be played against the first taking. There was no neutral ground. The folder could not remain both sealed and honest. Elena could not both vote and be spared the knowledge. The patients could not both stay buried and be counted. St. Orison could not be protected from the truth by a silence that did not also protect Mara. She understood this with a clarity so cold it felt almost kind. Vesh sat beside the coffee cart. It had become very still, small enough now to be mistaken for an object left in the wrong place. A folded caution sign, a bundle of linen, a child waiting to be collected by someone who would never come. The missing bites in the biscuits had widened. Each crescent had deepened by the width of a thumbnail. Still there were no crumbs. Mara looked at them. "You can make them do it," she said. "Yes, you can make them follow me. Yes, you can make the wanting stop." For a while, she looked at Vesh. "But not make me full, no. And not make this sharing." Vesh's mouth, that thin, unclosed split, seemed almost tender in its dryness. "No." Mara laughed, but no sound came. Her eyes shone once. She blinked it away before it could become anything useful to her. Inside the boardroom someone stood. A dark shape crossed the frosted glass and stopped near the door. The handle moved a fraction from the other side, then settled. They were waiting for her. They would not wait much longer. Mara slid one finger under the folder's edge. The seal held. She imagined breaking it here, in the corridor, alone with the demon and the biscuits and the smell of old coffee. She imagined walking in with loose pages. She imagined giving herself one last private act of control. Then she stopped. Elena should see the seal break. Not because it would save anything. It would not. Not because Mara deserved ceremony. She did not. But because the last unopened portion had sat under Mara's arm long enough, she took the folder in both hands. Vesh lowered its head. Its long fingers remained folded, as if holding back from the world by force of habit. The black hollow on the handle had faded to a stain. Mara reached for it. Mara stood with her hand near the boardroom handle. The black hollow on the brass had thinned. It had not vanished. It clung in the grooves where fingers had polished the metal for years. It looked like something burned there without heat. Behind the glass, the boardroom moved in fragments. Sleeves. Throats. The pale lift of a hand, a glass lifted and set down. Someone laughed once too high, then stopped. Her name came through the door in a softened shape. Mara. Vesh remained beside the coffee cart. It had folded itself smaller. Its knees rose under its narrow chin. Its long fingers were tucked away so tightly that the joints made a row of small white points under the damp skin. The hollow in its throat held the green exit light, and did nothing with it. "It would be quiet," Vesh said. Mara looked at the bitten biscuits. Each plain one carried its crescent wound. Exact, almost courteous, no crumbs, no mess. Only absence repeated until it seemed like the design. Her own hands had begun to shake. She tucked the tremor under action. She took the folder out from beneath her arm. The red cover had warmed against her body. The seal was still intact. Its white strip crossed the flap with the hospital crest, printed in blue. St. Orison Medical. Confidential Audit Board Review. Only her thumb found the edge of the seal. She could open it in the corridor. She could break it before witnesses. She could turn the act into something clean. Something procedural. An emergency disclosure. A correction of process. Her thumb stayed there. Vesh watched the folder slide in her grip. It looked first at the folder, then at her mouth, then at her hands. Mara wiped one palm on her skirt, then the other. The fabric caught slightly on the dampness of her skin. She hated that. The smallness of the movement, the human mess of it. The boardroom door opened a few inches from the other side. A junior associate put his head out. His badge swung forward. He saw her and tried to look relieved. "Dr. Vale, they're ready for you." He did not see Vesh, or he saw only a bad shadow under the sign. His eyes passed over it and hurried away. Mara nodded. Her throat did not work at first. She nodded again, as if the second motion could stand in for speech. The associate held the door wider. Warm boardroom air came into the corridor. Coffee, toner, wool, the thick arranged scent of expensive caution. Beneath it, bleach still held the walls. The old coffee on the cart had gone cold. Mara turned once. Vesh had not moved. Its face pressed inward and patient, held no expectation she could use. No approval, no injury. Only attention. "You cannot make it full," Mara said. Her voice was low. The associate did not seem to hear. He was looking back into the room, one hand still on the door. "No," Vesh said, "and you cannot make it shared." No. Mara put the folder against her chest for one last second. Not under her arm now, against the flat sternum, where it made a hard red shield. Then she walked in. The boardroom quieted in the way rooms quieted for people who controlled budgets and consequences. Not all at once, in layers. First, the side conversations ended. Then the tapping on a tablet, then the restless slide of a chair. The long table shone under recessed lights. Rain had blackened the windows beyond it, though no one had drawn the blinds. The city made broken stars in the glass. On the wall, the hospital's mission statement stood in brushed steel letters. Compassion, innovation, stewardship. Mara did not look at it. At the head of the table, Chairwoman Klein had two fingers resting on the agenda. Her mouth was already shaped for correction. "We were beginning to wonder." "I know," Mara said. The words stopped more than they explained. The directors looked at her. Some leaned back, some forward. Legal counsel closed a laptop halfway, then left it there, uncertain. A man from finance touched the bridge of his glasses and did not lower his hand. Elena Ruiz sat halfway down the table. She was younger than Daniel had ever looked in the photographs Mara had kept out of official decks. Not young. Just unspent in a different direction. Her dark hair had been pinned at the base of her neck. A pen hovered above a stack of annotated papers. Her nameplate read, Elena Ruiz Kapoor, Community Trustee. She had Daniel's cheekbones. That was the cruelest part. Not resemblance as accusation. Resemblance as fact. Elena looked at the folder, then at Mara. Mara walked toward the head of the table. Every chair seemed set at a judgmental angle. Every face held its own private arithmetic. The sealed red folder was heavy in her hands. It had weighed less when it could still remain a possibility. Klein shifted her papers. "Dr. Vale, the audit is for executive session. We agreed." Mara stopped beside Klein's chair. For a moment, she could still place the folder there, in front of the chairwoman, within the accustomed chain, on the polished path down which things disappeared. Her fingers tightened. Then she changed course. It was a small turn, a few steps only. But the room felt it. The attention moved with her. Elena's pen lowered a fraction. Mara came to the middle of the table. She laid the sealed red audit folder directly in front of Elena Ruiz. The sound it made was soft, cardboard on varnished wood. Mara kept her palm flat on it for one breath. Then she let go. No one spoke at first. The folder lay between Elena's papers and her water glass. Red, sealed, official. Its white strip caught the overhead light. Mara's hand had left a faint mark on the cover, a damp oval. It faded as they watched. Chairwoman Klein drew in a breath. "Mara," she said. It had warning in it. It had pleading, too. The pleading was worse. Elena did not look at Klein. She looked at the seal, then at Mara's face. "What is this?" she asked. Mara placed both hands on the table, not folded, not hidden. The veins stood out at her wrists. "The audit," she said. "We have a process," counsel said. His voice came quickly. It wore a suit over fear. Elena set down her pen. She did it with care. Then she put one finger beneath the edge of the white strip. Klein stood. "Elena," I must insist. Elena broke the seal. The small tearing sound moved through the room like fabric ripping in another room heard through a wall. No one stopped her. The flap lifted. The first page slid free. It was dense with findings. Margins, appendices, names turned into references. Elena held it by the top corners. Her eyes moved once down the page, then stopped. Mara stayed where she was. She felt nothing clean happen in her chest. No door opened. No bell answered. The want remained there. It had its old shape, recognition, position, safety, the bright private wish to be the one who survived the room. Only now it had no polished surface over it. Outside the boardroom, under the green sign, Vesh reached up to the coffee cart. Its fingers unfolded with great economy. Too long, too careful, it touched one of the plain biscuits. The bitten edge faced the corridor, a pale crescent taken from the brown rim. Vesh lifted it without eating. On the plate, where the biscuit had rested, something remained missing. Not crumbs, not grease. An outline. The exact shape of a portion that had never been there. The porcelain showed a duller white inside it, like an old scar under glaze. Vesh held the biscuit between its folded fingers. The thin split of its mouth opened slightly. The dry hollow in its throat darkened. It still did not swallow. Inside, paper turned. Elena read. Her face changed by degrees too small to name. Counsel whispered to Klein. Klein did not answer. Someone at the far end of the table pushed back a chair, then seemed to forget why. Mara looked at the first page in Elena's hands. Daniel Ruiz's name appeared near the top. Not as donor, not as mentor, not as courtesy citation. It sat there in the clean black type of recovery. A name returned by force to the place from which it had been removed. Elena's hand tightened around the paper. Mara, she said. This time it was not warning. It was not a question yet. Mara kept both hands visible. In the corridor, the exit sign buzzed. Its green light flickered over the locked records closet, the frosted glass, the cart with the bitten biscuits. Vesh turned away from the door. It passed out of sight with the uneaten biscuit held carefully between its long folded fingers.